Today I want to tell you guys about an idea, a theory you might say, that you've most likely never heard anything close to before, because the main two topics this video will be covering are things almost no one ever talks about. Because while everyone is busy focusing on things like the Poneglyphs, Raftel, Joy Boy, and the ancient weapons, it seems as though nobody is even looking in the direction of these two things that possibly are the most crucial aspects to both finding and getting to the One Piece. And these two things that contain all the answers we've been searching for have been hiding in plain sight this entire time, and they are Pangaea Castle and Tequila Wolf. Now you might be asking, what do Pangaea Castle and Tequila Wolf have to do with the One Piece? Or maybe you're wondering, what even is Pangaea Castle and Tequila Wolf? Well, don't worry, because in this video I'm gonna go through everything we know about them both, from their lore and what we know about them so far, to their hidden secrets and why I think they'll play a bigger role in the final stages of One Piece than any of us may have ever imagined. As a side note, the contents of this theory video are derived from two previous videos I made in the past, long before I had even 200 subscribers. And now with a lot more exposure and better experience, I wanted to make a better, upgraded version of those videos, taking the best of them and combining them into one epic theory. And for my OG subscribers who have seen those videos, don't worry. With the many chapters we've gotten since then and the new information in Egghead regarding devil fruits and the ancient kingdom, a lot of core aspects about this theory have changed entirely. So even if you have seen those previous videos, this video will be entirely different. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. So let's start off with a very basic question. What is Pangaea Castle? Pangaea Castle is the castle centered in the middle of the Holy Land of Marijoa. It's where we always see Imu as well as the 5 elders used as a home base and most likely where they all reside. And the Chamber of Flowers, which will be the main focus of today, is a room inside of Pangaea Castle, apparently sealed off from others entering without Imu's permission. It's that bright room that looks like a garden which we often see Imu inside of. It seems as though this is where Imu spends most of their time and possibly doesn't allow anyone else access to this room without their permission. Okay, so we covered the very little we know about Pangaea Castle and the Chamber of Flowers, but what about Tequila Wolf? Tequila Wolf is a massive bridge located in the East Blue in which Robin was sent to by Kuma during the Straw Hat separation and leading into the time skip. This bridge is currently under construction and has been for the past 700 years on the orders of the world nobles. We don't exactly know why they decided to build it or where it leads to, and I'll definitely be covering both of those in my theory today. But when it comes to the stone cold facts, all we know for sure is that this bridge has been under construction for 700 years. The Celestial Dragons are the ones who ordered it, and as of the last time we've seen it, it's still incomplete. So now that we got the basics out of the way, what is so special about these two things? A seemingly irrelevant chamber in the middle of nowhere and a bridge we know almost nothing about. What possible connection could they have to the One Piece? Well, to answer that, we will first need to cover some important information we've learned over the years in regards to obtaining the One Piece. In chapter 818, titled Inside the Whale, we learned some really important information about Raftel through Inuyasha and Nekomamushi. We get deeper lore into poneglyphs and how they work, as we learn there are two types of poneglyphs, Rio poneglyphs and road poneglyphs. And we learn that there are not one, but a total of 4 road poneglyphs, each one marking a certain point in the world. And once someone obtains all 4 road poneglyphs, they'll be able to find the One Piece. Because right in the middle of where these 4 points connect will mark the location of the final island known as Raftel. Just like in all the pirate storybooks we read as children, X marks the spot of the pirate treasure. And it is no different here in the case of One Piece. We also come to find out the location of 3 of these road poneglyphs in this chapter. We learn that one is in the possession of Kaido in Wano, one is in the possession of Big Mom in Whole Cake Island, and the third one is right there in Zou. And as far as the 4th one goes, no one knows where it is. However, we do know through Oden's flashback that during Roger's final voyage 22 years ago, this last road poneglyph was in the possession of King Neptune in Fishman Island. But when Luffy gets to Fishman Island in the current timeline, it's no longer there. The only thing remaining was a Rio poneglyph containing Joy Boy's apology to Poseidon, but again, not the road poneglyph that Roger had found there 22 years prior. Now when it comes to Joy Boy and the Ancient Kingdom, we know that the Great Kingdom fell 800 years ago to the 20 enemy nations that later became known as the World Government. The real Poneglyphs themselves contain messages left behind by the people of the Great Kingdom, leaving behind important information about their history to be passed on through the centuries within these stones, written in their ancient text so as to prevent this knowledge from reaching the wrong people. In chapter 967, we get perhaps the biggest and most shocking reveal ever when we find out that Joy Boy is in fact the one who left behind this treasure in Raftel. It's possible that Roger could have added more to what was already there when he arrived, but Joy Boy is the one who originally left something valuable behind on Raftel, as well as his laugh tale for the people of the future to read, laugh, and enjoy. Now bear with me guys, I know this is information most of you already know, but it's essential that I lay down the groundwork and cover these points first, as they are the foundation of what this theory will be covering. And we will be getting to the theory itself soon enough, and I can promise you that once you've heard this theory to the end, your mind will be blown away. And if that is the case by the time you reach the end, please feel free to like this video and subscribe for regular One Piece analysis videos, theory videos, and much more. And lastly, let's go over devil fruits, as we have learned so much about them in this Egghead arc that will tie in greatly with what's to come in this video. In chapter 1069, titled The Desire of All Things Are Born to This World, we learn the true essence of what devil fruits are. In this chapter, Vegapunk says, the devil fruits are the potential of human evolution that humanity wished for. Wouldn't it be nice if I were like this? Wouldn't it be great if I were like that? They have the powers of the diverse future of humankind. Therefore, these abnormalities are hated by the sea, the mother of all nature. This changes everything we thought we knew about the origins of devil fruits. One thing I've always found really interesting is how the world government seems to have an open access to a quantity of amazing devil fruits. It seems like they have so many fantastic fruits readily at their disposal, not individually, but as an organization. We see many government members with very rare devil fruits all throughout the series. Guys like Smoker, Sengoku, the Admirals, X-Drake, and others. We even see the government reward Spandam and CP9 with 2 devil fruits upon the successful capture and transportation of Nico Robin to Enies Lobby. So it's not really a suspicion or theory to say the world government have devil fruits readily available to them, but it's a fact. It's very possible that the world government actually acquired the Flame fruit after Ace's death, and rewarded it to Doflamingo for his participation in the war, since we know that naturally as a warlord he is affiliated with the government after all. So now we've covered everything we already know. Now let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into today's theory. Just like the world government traced Roger's footsteps after his execution in order to find Ace, I believe they also traced his footsteps to learn where he found each of these 4 road poneglyphs that led him to Raftel. The world government is an organization with an incredibly vast amount of resources. If they launched a full-scale manhunt to track down these 4 poneglyphs, I doubt it would take them very long to learn their location. They would have quickly learned the location of all 4 of them and would have had a decision to make immediately. It's very simple really. Roger had just started the greatest era of piracy known to man. With his dying words, there were now tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pirates all looking for the One Piece, and the world government could not afford for any pirate to ever find this treasure. What would be the quickest and easiest way to stop every single pirate from ever being able to find the One Piece? All the world government would have to do is take just one of these 4 road poneglyphs for themselves, and that would solve their problem. Because just like a jigsaw puzzle missing one piece, no matter how much someone may try to put that puzzle together, they'll never be able to so long as that single piece is missing. And I think this is why everything going on in the story thus far, with all of the moves Blackbeard, Luffy, Shanks, and others have been making, we've never really seen the government show true concern that someone was getting seriously close to finding the One Piece. Remember Whitebeard's dying words. He says that whoever finds the treasure one day will bring about a war that will engulf the world, and that they would shake the very world to its core. This is easily the greatest threat the world government could ever dream of potentially facing. So you'd be sure they'd put all their time and efforts into making sure this never happened. So then again, why aren't they all that worried with someone finding the One Piece? I mean sure, they definitely show concern with Luffy, don't get me wrong. But Luffy is at a point now where he has 3 road poneglyphs. He would literally need to find 1 more and he can reach Raftel. They should pretty much be giving him a 6 billion berry bounty and sending every admiral plus Garp and Sengoku at him all at once at this point, just to make sure that day Whitebeard mentioned never comes. But they aren't. They are casually sitting back in Marijois, and the reason I think that is because they themselves have the last missing road poneglyph. If they traced Roger's footsteps and learned the location of each of these 4 road poneglyphs at that time, it would make the most sense for them to take that one poneglyph that's currently missing. Think about it. One was with Kaido, who had just taken over Wano and defeated and killed Kozuki Oden. Another was with Big Mom, who even Roger chose to avoid direct conflict and sneak in to get the rubbings of her poneglyph. The third one was on Zou. Though they may not have any fighters the caliber of Big Mom or Kaido, Zou is an incredibly strong nation where their strength lies in quantity over quality. Each one of them is incredibly strong in their own right, and with all of them at once, along with the leaders Inuarashi and Nekomamushi, it would have been a really tough challenge that's better off avoided if possible. So that would leave one final poneglyph, the one on Fishman Island, the one that is indeed missing today. Fishman Island without question would be the weak link. Like a pack of hungry hyenas desperate for their next meal would easily choose to avoid the buffalo and grab its baby calf instead. The world government would be no different here. They'd be a lot better off taking it off the hands of King Neptune and his fishmen than any of the previous groups mentioned. Besides, Fishman Island is the only one of these 4 nations that is affiliated with the world government. And I could be wrong about that, so please correct me if I am. But it could have been as easy as threatening to remove Fishman Island from the nations of the world government that would have forced Neptune to give up the poneglyph. And now that the world government have one of these poneglyphs, a key aspect and an absolute necessity to finding the One Piece, they could rest easy knowing as long as they have this one piece, they have nothing to sweat over. Think about it this way. The world government have always been about balance. The balance of power between themselves, the warlords, and the pirates. Because if any one of these 3 disrupted the balance of power, it would threaten the very existence of the world itself. What better representation of their need to keep this balance between themselves and pirates than to take one of the 4 poneglyphs for themselves, thereby preventing any pirate from obtaining the One Piece and shaking the world to its core, like Whitebeard mentioned. This way, no pirate would ever be able to obtain the One Piece unless they did 2 things. Firstly, they would need to learn somehow that the final piece to this puzzle is in the possession of the world government, and secondly, they would need to march right in there and take it from them by force. And this is where Imu, Pangaea Castle, and the Chamber of Flowers all come into play. If everything so far ended up being true, then there's no doubt the government would want to keep this poneglyph in the most secure place possible, to avoid the endless stresses of constantly having to worry that a pirate may come in one day and take it. And what could possibly be a more secure spot than right in the middle of Marijois, the most overly guarded place for the world government, with the God's Knights, the Elder Stars, and Imu. Right in the middle of the island in Pangaea Castle, in the most secure room of this castle, in the Chamber of Flowers, where arguably the strongest person to ever exist in the One Piece world resides. And of course I'm talking about Imu. To say this would be like walking into the lion's den would be the understatement of the century. This would be the best way for the government to guarantee the safety and security of this poneglyph, and by extension, the safety and security of their world built carefully over the past 800 years. With what we know now about both Devil Fruits and Luffy's mythical sun god Nika ability, I believe Joy Boy created this mythical person, Nika, through his own desire to see the people of the world thrive. It was his desire to see the enslaved be free, the hungry be fed, and the oppressed be liberated that possibly manifested the very first Devil Fruit in the sun god Nika ability. And now soon after, Joy Boy, with all of these people he has freed and are now his followers, he would have built the Great Kingdom as a place for them all to live in harmony. However, this went against what the other nations wanted, and in the same way Joy Boy's strong desire to see the liberation of others led to him obtaining the powers of the Sun God, the strong desire that these 20 nations had to see the complete destruction of Joy Boy and the Great Kingdom led to the creation of other abilities, such as the ability to become magma, light, lightning, or even darkness, allowing them to completely negate the powers of Nika with the abilities of the Darkness Fruit. Many of these destructive Devil Fruit powers we see today could very likely have come from these people's desire to obliterate the Great Kingdom, and it would make sense why a lot of these fruits seem to mostly specialize in destruction. As overpowered as Luffy's fruit may be, it's not really a fruit based on destruction. Its specialty lies in its ability to make dreams a reality, allowing for limitless amounts of creativity, the perfect fruit for a warrior of liberation. But devil fruits like the Quake, Magma, and many others specialize in destruction, which to me says that whoever's dreams manifested these abilities must have been people from the 20 nations who wanted to see nothing more than the complete destruction and eradication of the Great Kingdom. Especially now that we know that the Ancient Kingdom was a technologically advanced society, with the possible addition of Joy Boy having the Sun God Nika ability, they would be almost impossible to take down otherwise. These devil fruits were created for the sole purpose of taking down the Great Kingdom, and they succeeded. And this would explain why the world government have countless devil fruits at their disposal today. They were the ones who originally sought for these abilities, and over the centuries as they formed the world government, they kept these abilities close to home. I wouldn't be surprised if they've been simply awarding the best fruits to their strongest soldiers, or those who have shown the greatest potential. It's very possible that characters like Sengoku and the Admirals were given their devil fruits for the promising potential they showed early on in their navy careers. We know that the Poneglyphs were made to keep the history of the Great Kingdom intact, meaning that the people of the Great Kingdom knew their demise was coming, so they planned ahead of time to keep their history alive. This is even further suggested by Joy Boy leaving behind his laugh tale for others to read one day on that hidden island. And we know since Joy Boy, no one else was able to reach Raftel in 800 years until the Roger Pirates. Roger and the Roger Pirates were a crew of non-devil fruit users. We don't know for a fact that they all didn't have devil fruits, but we do know with 100% certainty that Roger, Rayleigh, Odin, and Shanks don't have one. Of course, we know Buggy ate a devil fruit while he was on Roger's crew, but I think it's most likely that Buggy was indeed the only devil fruit user on that crew, and Buggy never ended up going on that final voyage to Raftel anyways. This leads me to believe that there's a strong possibility that the route to get to Raftel, the route used by both Joy Boy and the Roger Pirates, somehow prevents devil fruit users from using it, and is only accessible to those who haven't eaten a devil fruit. The exact details of how Joy Boy and Roger got there is anyone's guess. They could have swam underwater to get to its location, or maybe it has something to do with Sea Prism Stone. If I'm being perfectly honest with you guys, I have no clue or theories on that. But whatever it is, I'm willing to bet that it stops all devil fruit users from getting through. And this would explain why not a single member of Shanks' crew has a devil fruit. Roger told Shanks something after arriving from Raftel. It's very likely he told him everything, including how to get there and that devil fruit users were forbidden from passing through. Hence why Shanks would insist on nobody in his crew eating a devil fruit. The world government couldn't even understand how Joy Boy reached Raftel, since they all had devil fruit abilities at the time. They probably had a good idea which direction he fled towards upon their invasion of the Great Kingdom. And so shortly after his death, they came up with a plan to create their own way to get to Raftel, a way that would allow even devil fruit users free passage to Raftel. And this way was the Bridge of Tequila Wolf. The Great Kingdom fell 800 years ago, and sometime soon after that, Joy Boy would have left his treasure on Raftel. 700 years ago, the world nobles began the construction of this bridge, which has been in the works ever since, and we don't know where it leads to. All the dots connect perfectly. Oda is the king of lore after all. He never places anything quietly in the background of the story unless it would eventually come to play a role later on, and Tequila Wolf is no exception. One way or another, I think we can all agree that before this story ends, the plot of Tequila Wolf must have an ending, meaning one of two things will happen. Either the bridge will be destroyed, or the bridge will be complete. And I think Tequila Wolf will be completed as a bridge to Raftel, just in time for the Raftel saga to begin. So now you're probably asking yourself, well, if devil fruit users can't get to Raftel, then how will Luffy, as well as half of his crew, get there? And this is where Tequila Wolf comes into play. But first, let's go back to Pangaea Castle. There seems to be a difference in opinion within the community on how fans think One Piece is going to end. But generally speaking, One Piece is going to end either one of two ways. Either Luffy will reach Raftel, find the One Piece and become the Pirate King, and only once he's declared Pirate King, we can now go into the final war, where he takes on Imu and the world government before wrapping up the series. Or Luffy and the gang fight the world government first, taking down Imu and the Marines, and after this we get the Raftel arc being the final point in the story, with Luffy versus Blackbeard battling it out for the One Piece and title of Pirate King as the very last fight we get. It's important that I mention that this theory only works if the latter is the case. For this theory to work, Luffy becoming Pirate King would need to be the very last thing we get after Imu and the world government are already taken down, which I believe is how it's most likely going to go down anyways. So heading into the final battle with the world government, as I mentioned earlier, at this point, Imu would be in possession of the fourth and final world poneglyph, and any pirate who wants the treasure would need to come into Marijois, into Pangaea Castle to take it from them. Since the very beginning, the race to the One Piece has always been about Luffy and Blackbeard as the only two real contenders, and I think this is where we'll see that clearly. Blackbeard and Luffy will both arrive to take that final poneglyph from Imu at the same time, and it'll end up being Blackbeard and Luffy on one side and Imu on the other. A 2 versus 1 inside the Chamber of Flowers for the final key to the One Piece. Two enemies working together to take down an unstoppable common enemy, just like with the God Valley incident. Personally, I just think Imu has been built up so much at this point for them to be taken down one-on-one by Luffy. I just don't see that happening. And not to get into spoilers of other shonen series, but many of the other major shonen series that One Piece is often compared to have all used this tool as well, where the final antagonist is just too strong for the main character to defeat alone, and they usually form an unlikely team up with their biggest rival and previously the main antagonist earlier on. It's something we've definitely seen before, and for good reason. If it took everything we saw in Wano for Luffy to beat Kaido, then I highly doubt he'll beat Imu one-on-one. And this is where Blackbeard comes into the picture. You'd have two pirates, so alike yet so different, both with every reason in the world to despise the world government, both with their eyes set firmly on the One Piece since the very start of this series. One who represents the peak of Devil Fruit abilities, and the other representing the peak of Haki. And most of all, the two most controversial members of the D-Clan, God's natural enemy, up against what many in the One Piece world would deem God itself. A battle 800 years in the making since the fall of Joy Boy, that two of his clan's destined descendants are now about to end. Symbolically speaking, this would be the perfect battle and way to finally take down the world government. Two victims of this harsh world created by the world government, both who suffered their entire lives but approached it in completely different ways, resulting in entirely opposite people, but both a product of this world. Now together have a chance at toppling said government, and one of them will have the chance to create a new world in any way, shape, or form they see fit. Luffy and Blackbeard together defeat Imu, while everyone else from the Straw Hat Pirates, the Blackbeard Pirates, and the Revolutionary Army take down the rest of Marijois. And now, in the Chamber of Flowers, we have Imu's defeated body on the floor, Blackbeard on one side, Luffy on the other, and the final road poneglyph, the last key they both need to obtaining the One Piece and shaping the world however they see fit, right in the middle between them. This would be the ultimate battle between Luffy and Blackbeard. But I actually believe Blackbeard will initially beat Luffy here and take the rubbings of the final road poneglyph. Now remember, since these poneglyphs are too heavy to move around like Nekomamushi told us, and since we know these stones are completely indestructible, the best Blackbeard can do here is simply take a rubbing for himself and just leave. There's nothing he can really do to stop anyone else from taking a rubbing for themselves once he's gone. It'll probably be a case in which he thinks he's killed Luffy, Luffy is laying there seemingly dead, and Blackbeard just takes what he needs and goes. And now Tequila Wolf comes back into the picture. Like I said earlier, I believe Tequila Wolf is a bridge the government has been making with its final destination meant to be Raftel, so they too can get their hands on this treasure to prevent any pirates from gaining whatever power comes with it. And that sooner or later this bridge would need to be complete. Well, by this point in the story, I think it most definitely will be complete, just in time for Blackbeard, a Devil Fruit user, to use it for himself. And this wouldn't be the first time Blackbeard has used the work of the world government or others to mooch off for himself. He used Luffy's hard work of breaking into Impel Down, fighting Magellan, freeing the prisoners, and causing all-out chaos, so that all he would need to do is walk in, take his future crewmates, and walk right back out. He used the world government's hard work of fighting the Whitebeard pirates, weakening most of their strong fighters, and severely injuring Whitebeard himself to where he was already on the verge of death, just in time for Blackbeard to swoop in for the final kill, take the Gura Gura no Mi, and leave. If nothing else, Blackbeard is the ultimate opportunist, and he's gonna cash in on the opportunity once he sees the bridge of Tequila Wolf is complete. Having the world government construct a bridge for over 700 years, only for him to kill them and use it for himself as a one-way ticket to the One Piece, is the most Blackbeard thing I could possibly imagine. I think it's extremely likely as well that it's right here, once Blackbeard gets to Raftel, that his inevitable and long anticipated battle with the red-haired pirates will probably take place. So far we've seen that in every milestone landmark of the Straw Hats' journey, someone from the Roger Pirates was waiting. Crocus was at Reverse Mountain, the very first place when you enter the Grand Line. Rayleigh was at Sabaody Archipelago, the exact middle point of the Grand Line, dividing Paradise and the New World. And with Raftel being the final endpoint and where the treasure itself is, it's only fitting that someone from Roger's crew will probably be here as well. I think Shanks will be waiting for Luffy on Raftel, only to see Blackbeard arrive first, and this will be the perfect setup for their long anticipated battle. If you want to know why I think Shanks will be waiting for Luffy on Raftel, as well as what role Shanks will play in the final stages of One Piece, I made a whole theory video on that which you can watch here as well. Link will be in the description below. Now in classic shonen fashion, Luffy will get up from his first defeat, more motivated than ever now to not only get the treasure for himself, but stop it from getting in the hands of a man like Blackbeard. Luffy takes a rubbing of the final Poneglyph for himself, and the Straw Hats, having 4 Devil Fruit users, also use Tequila Wolf to get to Raftel. Luffy arrives just in time to see Shanks laying dead at the feet of Blackbeard, and this is it. Luffy is the last obstacle between Blackbeard and the One Piece. The last hope the world has before the world itself is shaped into the age of Blackbeard. And Blackbeard, on the other hand, serves as a final obstacle for Luffy, between himself and his lifelong dream that can only be achieved with the title of Pirate King. This is it. Winner take all, with the stakes as high as they'll ever be. One man will finally achieve everything he's ever worked his whole life towards, and will gain the respect of every pirate on the seas as the new Pirate King. And the other man dies, one final step short of realizing his dream. Luffy defeats Blackbeard this time around as the Straw Hats defeat the Blackbeard pirates on Raftel, and Luffy and the gang finally get the One Piece, read Joy Boy's tale left behind, and learn the truth of the world. Luffy becomes Pirate King with this title, and is finally able, after all these years, to achieve his real dream. And if you want to know what that dream is, as well as Joy Boy's tale, why Roger laughed, and what is the One Piece, I cover all of that and much more in this mega theory video right here.